Big Bad Toy Store has all of the latest and greatest kaiju collectibles, so evolve your collection and head on over to the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen today.
Folks, let's be real. I need to sell you on nothing else.
Monkey, 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 and more. It's Steven's Monkey Reviews. Hello there, collectors. It's Steven here, and welcome to another Monsterverse review, where today we're going to be taking a look at the exquisite basic Kong from Godzilla, Kong, the New Empire. This is going to be the GXK one. Yes, cool. This is going to be the normal Kong, not with the Beast Glove, and he has finally hit North American retail, and BBTS has been processing orders and shipping these out. Great. I've had this figure for a little bit now, and what I can say is Kong is awesome. You're going to love it. I love it. So let's take a look to see whether or not he's worth adding into your collection, and I think you will be happy. So for Kong's looks, we have to say that he is pretty nice looking. Maybe there's going to be a few folks who are not quite happy with a few things here or there, but generally speaking, when it comes down to it, I don't think for the price tag that Hiya necessarily missed anything here. There's nothing egregiously out of line, except for something with the faces and the eyes that maybe are going to be a little upsetting for some. Now, in the prototype pictures, not only for this one, but for the Beast Glove as well, there really wasn't an indication that they were going to use glass-like material for the eyes. They actually used that for the final production model. Cool! The only issue with this is that sometimes when you're looking at the figure, depending on the angle, the eyes can kind of look a little derpy, and, he kind of can look a whole bunch of different ways. And when you're looking at the figure head on, because he has the giant eyebrows, it's kind of difficult to see the eyes, and they're a bit obscured. However, if you look at him from a lower angle, he looks just fine. Now, of course, that's going to be a preference from person to person. Generally speaking, I think it's not that big of a deal. But, Now, as we move on down the figure, we do see that he does have the slash marks on his chest, which look fantastic. Not a huge deal there. And for the GVK figure, they resculpted it to look more accurate, generally speaking, for the movie. Now, when we take a look at the arms, they are rather big and luscious and hairy, so it's good to see that Kong's got some muscle to him. And on the back, instead of just looking like a brown poo-poo streak, he does have some sculpted in scars on there from when Godzilla blasted him in his back. Of course, we can't talk about that monkey badonkadonk without, really giving it a whole lot of attention here, because it looks fantastic. And the legs do pack some power as well, along with the monkey feet. So overall, I think if you like the design of the Monsterverse Kong, you're going to appreciate him and his big, luscious beard. Monkey moves time, and I gotta say, Kong moves very nicely, and I know that there are some folks who don't like Hiya for one reason or another, whatever it may be. Justify it for yourself. You gotta give it to Hiya where they do things well, and this is definitely going to be a thing that they do very well, with, I think, one exception folks can really talk about. So for the head, where it attaches into the neck, it's going to be on a double axis or a barbell style ball joint. Now, where it looks up, the figure does, we're going to be able to push it up that far, and unfortunately only down about that far, even if you were to really work that ball joint there. He definitely can tilt his head side to side with just that, and we can spin it all the way around if we do want. Now, just to go ahead and pop the head off, that is how you're going to swap the heads, by the way. You can see that ball joint there, which is good. The neck does have movement as well. That's going to be on a ball joint, and that is going to help get you just a little bit more range of movement. I can pop this back on, which is pretty easy to do. Looking up, and then once you finagle it, you can get Kong to look down just a bit more, depending on how you do things. So not a whole lot of extra range of movement, but it can, in fact, be done. Now we're going to take a look at the shoulders, which they do have this little floating piece of plastic, which does help with the shoulder movement, which is rather nice. It's very good. So if you don't like gaps holding things up, that's going to be good. So you can spin all the way around, lift up, lift down. It is going to have a little bit of gap there if you're looking there, but c'est la vie. We do, by implication, have a bicep swivel there. So if you don't like the swivel at the elbow, where it plugs in there, or at the forearm, you do have another option right up here, which he does have an elbow hinge, which is good. Just be mindful of the position that you have it, Keep in mind the cutouts there, because that may or may not restrict the range of movement just a little bit. But regardless, he does have a better range of movement than the Monster Arts Scar King. When it comes to the wrists, this is a very interesting connection, and it does allow for a good range of movement, because as you can see here, that sculpt there actually has a ball joint down here, and if we pop the wrist off here, you can see that it does move by itself. So you can get a little bit extra movement there, so you can angle the hand when it is attached onto the wrist. Now, if you are looking carefully, the sculpt is different from the front and the back, so if you do need everything to look exactly as it should and precise, you're going to see the monkey skin there, and that does line up with the hand. So there you go. Let's pop that back on, and obviously that's how you're going to swap out the hand parts. Moving on to the main body of Kong. Let's go ahead and get this lined up correctly as it maybe should here. We do have an ab crunch. We can move Kong around, rock back and forth. Pretty good range of movement. Tilt from side to side and looking at him from the back. No problems there. The scar lines up nicely as we tilt around. We do have a waist joint here. Tilt him around there. Nicely done. Now for the leg articulation at the hips, we do have ball joints, so that's good to see. Spin around. Nothing to pull down, which is totally fine, but you can do the splits like that. We do have a split here at the thigh, so you can spin the legs around, which is good. Doesn't really seem like there's anything other than a swivel there. Could be a ball joint, but I digress. Good knee hinge there. Does seem to spin, but I don't know if I'm pushing my luck there, so keep that in mind. We do have an ankle rocker joint with a ball joint, it looks like, but that's not going to be entirely going to affect the articulation too much, especially when it comes to play in this section next. The legs move fine, but this is where it's going to really count. Now comes the problem with the hips. This is pretty divisive here, right? So, Kong stands nicely. He stands just fine. Even if I adjust his back. Right? He stands fine. Shake the table. He's fine. Did the 360 spin. He's fine. Let's take a look at him. Okay? The issue is that this sort of pose with this curve is what we're focusing on, all right? This curve is actually a bit accurate. That is accurate to the source material for Kong. If you look at his model, if you look at how he stands in the movie and most of the promotional work, you're going to see that Kong, when he is standing straight, he has this curve as he stands. This is how he does stand. This is accurate to the model, to him. If you do see him stand traditionally, let's say, upright, like a human, there are some scenes where he is like this. But they are few and far between, and you're going to see some really odd things, like his one leg will technically, if you try to look at the geography, his one leg will be like in the ground, it should be, or he'll be tilted in one way or another, or if you really look close enough, you'll see that maybe one leg is sort of straight and the other is bent. So if you're looking real close, and even at some of the concept work that is based, and you see the models that are used without the fur, that is correct. So if you go to straighten out Kong's legs and make him as close to human-like as possible, Kong doesn't want to stand, because another issue is that his feet aren't flat, and you really can't make them flat either. So Kong's inclined to just stand backwards like that and fall over. So you do have to counterbalance that. Now, that is an explanation for how you get Kong to stand without the support of display stands. Explanation and reason is not an excuse. Why didn't Hiya account for people wanting to do that? Now you can try to counterbalance that by having him lean forward. I didn't adjust the curve, but it's still hard to get him to safely stand. So that is definitely a fault of the figure. Yeah, I don't know. You have to get him to pop it out. And if you do, he can stand. But other than that, I do think that this figure does move really, really well, and he poses very nicely. Accessories and what all does Kong come with? Well, he is going to come with a few sets of hands, he's going to come with a few extra head parts, and he's going to come with his trusty axe. Very neat. So first, let's go ahead and talk about the heads. He's going to come by default, as you saw with his neutral face, thumbs up. For this one, he's going to come with a growling face, which is very, very nice. And then he's going to come with a roaring face. Yes, good. As I showed you, the heads, very easy to swap out. Cool. Now, like I mentioned before, the eyes, if you look at them straight on, kind of difficult to see, but they're best viewed from below. Problem with these heads, right? None really otherwise except the roaring head, little bit more difficult to look down because his jaw's open and he's got the nice big beard. Here's where we're looking at here. This one was not supposed to have the silver tooth in the promo pics. It was not. Now, it's GXK, the new Empire, but in the promo pics, he was not supposed to have the silver tooth. The implication being is that the Beast Glove Kong would have the silver tooth, meaning you can mix and match. This one would be before he got it, that one being after. I know he's got the frostbite hand, but that's what it was meant to be. Now, I guess technically this would be more accurate, but I digress. This is what they promised collectors, that he wouldn't have the silver tooth, and this is what they delivered on. So if you were hoping for that, unfortunately, you're SOL, but I digress. You may like it, you may not, but, you know, that's what Hiya promised, end of the day, and they didn't deliver on that. So that's about it. Hands, pretty neat, pretty basic, pretty simple. We do get your default fists, as one would expect. We do get knuckle walking hands, so we can do that, and we get splayed hands, and we do, as I mentioned, get the right hand, which features the frostbite damage. Now, we don't have a normal right splayed hand, which is a bit of a bummer, because, you know, it would be cool just to have equal parts left and right, but I digress. The damage from the frostbite is pretty cool. You know, his hand's pretty much all messed up, but if you look at the palm, we do have slash marks on there. Here's the problem with these. Wrong hand for Scar King's Whip Slash, okay? Not the correct hand. Should be the other one. The answer to that, the rebuttal, is that these are going to be the slash and the scratch marks, what have you, from the chopper blade that Kong decided to go after in the Skull Island movie. Problem with that. Look at the chest scratches that Kong got throughout his life, as well as Godzilla from GVK. Those are all nice and healed up pretty much, no problem. Look at the atomic breath scar on his back. Pretty much no problem healed up there. Here, I don't know if it's too much, but 2 summers ago, I skid and I got a real bad, I would argue, laceration on my knee. You can only see that it's bad because of the lighting. Wouldn't even really be able to tell. I tore up my hand trying to break my fall. You couldn't even tell. So with that being said, this looks very bloody. And I would imagine a humongous ape, who is probably somewhere in my family tree as a large hairy man myself, this should be well healed up. I think Hiya just simply got this wrong. That's all there is to it. Is it a big deal? I personally don't care that much, but to somebody, it may very well matter a whole hell of a lot. Now, for the last accessory, we do have the very, very cool battle axe for Kong, made out of translucent plastic, and nice. This is amazing. This is probably the best battle axe we've gotten yet. You can see that the axe looks like a nice amber color. The dorsal plate for the Godzilla species or Godzilla himself. It has the accurate blue in between the cracks there for when he's using his atomic breath. We have the bone color, whatever. I don't know all what it is. It looks good, okay? I'm kind of rambling here, trying to praise this, okay? Leave me alone. It looks amazing. It's great. Only problem, for a more accurate representation, it shouldn't be lit up, I guess. You know what I mean? It only lights up for a little bit in the movie, but again, it's only going to be if you're really looking for a stickler for those details. Quite frankly, I really like this more, and I think the Suko set should have come with a dead, unlit axe. But I digress. Now, getting Kong to hold the axe is not a difficult task. You just have to swap the hands properly, and then you just have to fight to get it into his hand, which is not a hard thing to do. Unless you're me. Then, you struggle a whole lot. And bada bing, bada boom. Now, what makes this so much easier is the axe bends. Made of a softer material. And you can get that thing to bend. So, you don't have to stress test it. Why? I just did. So, for the accessories, I think this is a pretty solid package we got here, yeah? Criticism might be the Beast Glove. He doesn't come with it, and it's a whole separate release. The rebuttal to that would be that could just be for someone an entirely separate display option where you would need an entire other Kong. So then you would have to buy two of them anyway for the same price, so you would just be buying two figures. So what does it really matter? All right, size comparison so you can see exactly how big this guy is in relation to some of the other figures you might have, and, maybe some other stuff you're thinking about buying. And as you can see, I think this Kong is a nice hefty boy, maybe more so in line with a typical 6-inch kaiju display you may have. And I think that he just blends in rather well. He looks pretty nice. Now, I did throw in the monster arts because figure fight is going to be just a bit different this time around. Buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. If you're a casual fan of the Monsterverse, I can't see a particular reason why someone would look at skipping this. A casual Monsterverse fan who's an action figure collector. I think that overall, this is a rock-solid figure with definitely a few issues here or there, but honestly, that is just looking at it kind of at the factual level. There are a few things that the figure falls short on, but when you're looking at it subjectively, I mean, that's going to go back to you, whether or not you don't like something or you do like something. Personally, I think that the flaws are kind of minimal, except for Kong not being able to stand perfectly up straight. I think that's kind of an oversight. But one way or another, I think it's a really great figure. And that's all I'll say for right now.